This is Post Ugly. I'm Ruth Solorzano. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, the first 1,000 days of a life is a unique period when the foundations of optimum health, growth, and neurodevelopment across a person's lifespan are established. Building a solid foundation is essential to shaping a person's development. And as we've learned, your environment and experiences play a huge role in shaping how happy and healthy you grow up to be. Violations to a person's development can have under-recognized and under-reported barriers. Research shows childhood adversity has a strong cumulative relationship with adult mental well-being and can create cracks in the solid foundation we so adamantly covet.
Most best man speeches usually consist of the best man just roasting the groom.
I have watched many friends around me have boyfriends, girlfriends, there's marriages, there are children. I have personally married more than 10 couples, and I only had one divorce. But I have never been in a relationship lasting more than 1 year. Can count on one hand how many boyfriends that I've had. I just feel that I don't get relationships properly. It's the one thing in the world that I just can't seem to get right. So I opt for sex because it's easier. And I would really rather have a relationship. Relationships are things that I covet. And I don't see them as this perfect jewel. I just see them as this messy thing that you find yourself in. You weren't tethered to them through family. You get to see yourself through the eyes of this person. I just have never really experienced that.
I think that trust is a huge factor. We bring in a ton of baggage from our past.
This is our new resident guest speaker. From Season 1, Dr. Christie Jenkins, who is the CEO of the Family and Child Abuse Prevention Center and core faculty at Walden University.
And it may feel easier or even safer to stick with sex. However, someone in the mix tends to catch feelings, and it can be a recipe for disaster. So there tends to be attachment issues in the fact of being a former abuse victim. So they range from avoiding, so they don't want to get involved, to ambivalent, where you kind of vacillate between like some deep insecurity all the way to clinginess. And then almost the exact opposite of craving emotional closeness.
My mom and I, we actually have a pretty good relationship now. She's also changed quite a bit. That also was a process too. There have been so many screaming and crying and a lot of fights to get her to acknowledge what she did. I'm able to now talk about the past with my mom, and both of us being able to have a civil conversation about it. But also my mom, she's at a better place in her life where she has admitted that, she said I wasn't a patient person. Just didn't have any patience back then. I'm lucky in the sense that our relationship had come in full circle, but at the same time, dealing with stuff that comes up, it's still something that I feel like is a is a lonely battle.
I honestly never thought that I would ever have a nice relationship with my mom. Because we fought so much during that time because I was so upset all the time. Now, I didn't even realize I was upset, but she could see it. And so she was like, what's happening to my daughter? And I would always just lash out at her because I didn't know how to tell her what was happening. I felt very strongly that they wouldn't be able to handle it. And I don't know if that's true or not, but we just didn't have the relationship that would, I don't know, that made me feel safe to share that information.
Does your mom know now?
No. I've thought about telling them, but I suppose if she asked about it, I would tell the truth. I don't think they would have handled it the way I needed it to be handled. I think that nothing like this appeared to happen in our town ever. So I had there's no blueprint, there's no frame of reference. The idea of telling them was just like not an option at the time. It was just too devastating.
Results from the National Survey of Adolescents show that 73% of survivors do not tell anyone about the abuse they've experienced for at least a year. 45% of them do not tell anyone for at least 5 years, and some never disclose.
In my relationships, even in high school, it was always guys who were very much domineering, wanting to be that person. I mean, verbal abuse, emotional abuse. I had one boyfriend who would get mad at me if I wasn't dressed up and made up for him. But then he went to a different school and he would have his friends watching me at school. And then he would get mad at me if he heard that I was dressed up and wearing makeup at school. You know, like, who else am I dressing up for? So, like, all of these weird dynamics. There were a couple of guys who were physically abusive.
We are used to the message that love hurts, it's chaotic, it's stressful. We may even seek out relationships that continue this cycle of abuse. When we are looking for relationships, we need to remember to stay away from what was modeled for us. This can take a lot of therapy and understanding of what really kind of happened to us, and the fact that what happened to us was not okay.
I never got, the talk about sex and, saving yourself, or, what virginity is, or anything like that. My mom had come around, and her version, all I've ever gotten from her about, sex or anything was, Mija, I don't know if you're having sex or not. I don't want to know if you are. But if you are, I just want you to be careful, because I'm not so much worried about you getting pregnant as I'm worried about you catching something. But again, I don't want to know if you're doing it.
Have conversations. Be someone your child can talk to. Don't overreact when your child tells you something. Ask pointed questions. The majority of abused children never tell, and part of that is because they can avoid answering certain questions. We really need to tell kids appropriate names for body parts. We need to make sure, developing over time, you let them know up and coming stages, breasts and periods and different things, because parents become concerned that kids will know too much. But if we don't tell them these things, they will learn it from others, and trust and believe it is not the message that we want to be sending our children.
Like a house built upon jagged earth, it can leave you feeling uneven and lost. Laying out new groundwork may be your only option.
The relationship with my mother, it's a little bit rocky at times. We don't communicate very often. It's mostly all through texting. But when I do see her, I want my mom. I want to spend time with her. I want her love. But I can't have it. It's not the same no more. I think I am still angry with her for a lot of things that went wrong in my life, and I'm still in the process of forgiving her. My relationships with others is not, I don't know, I feel like I just can't get along with other people, but I'm trying. I just started going to school recently. I'm trying to pursue my grade 12 diploma. So I'm meeting people there. Some good people, some sober people. They just seem friendly and loving. I haven't had that very often.
It's imperative that we build meaningful relationships outside of our family unit and even our tight-knit circle. This is your opportunity to find your own voice and make your own choices.
Taking on the challenge of restructuring your base is an undertaking that takes work, time, and patience, but can only lead to a stronger frame. Thank you to our new resident guest speaker, Dr. Christie Jenkins, who is the CEO of the Family and Child Abuse Prevention Center and core faculty at Walden University. For more information and resources, visit fcapc.org. If you know of a child being abused, please report it to your local Children's Advocacy Center or call 1-800-4-A-CHILD. Original music and sound production by Hugo Fowler. This show was produced and edited by me, Ruth Solorzano. If you like Post Ugly, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram, give us a review, and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It helps other people find the show. And thank you to our courageous survivors for sharing your stories.